Hey friends, Pastor Bill Walden here with Build Up the Church. God bless you. This is a devotional for March the 1st, 2024. In Mark chapter 9, in the first portion, we see Jesus going up on a particular mountaintop with Peter, James, and John. And while he's there, it says that he was transfigured. And he shone with a brilliance that they had never seen before. Brighter than the sun is one of the descriptions, and along with him, Elijah and Moses. And Peter, James, and John experience this. There's some conversation that goes on, and it's an amazing, amazing event, but it's one of those high points in the life of faith that you never forget. After that episode was over, Jesus came down the mountain with Peter, James, and John, and we pick up the story in Mark chapter 9, verse 14. When he came to the disciples, he saw a great multitude around them, and the scribes were disputing with them. So what we're going to see is that there's a demon-possessed boy there that's on the ground writhing. There's a very concerned father. There are the other 9 disciples that could not cast out the demon, and Jesus is going to insinuate that this is a particularly resistant or a rebellious or a strong demon. Then there are the scribes who are there, always finding fault with Jesus and his disciples, and they're very inappropriately standing in very near proximity to the boy and the father, and they're arguing with the disciples about why they couldn't cast out the demon, or they're arguing some theological thing, but nobody's helping the boy, nobody's helping the father. And so we read, immediately when they saw him, all the people were greatly amazed, and running to him, they greeted him, and he asked the scribes, what are you discussing with them? Then one of the crowd answered and said, Teacher, I brought you my son, who has a mute spirit. So the demon in this boy kept him from speaking. That was particularly problematic in the mind of a first century Jew, because they believed that if you could force the demon to say his name, that you would have power over that demon. Somehow it would give you an authority over that demon. So in their thinking, it's not biblical thinking, but in their thinking, a mute spirit hinders you and makes it very unlikely that the demon cannot be cast out. The man said, Teacher, I brought you my son, who has a mute spirit, and wherever it seizes him, it throws him down. He foams at the mouth, gnashes his teeth, and becomes rigid. Almost sounds like epilepsy, but we're going to see here that it was demonic possession. So I spoke to your disciples and that they should cast it out, but they could not. And Jesus will go on and he'll correct his disciples, but more to the point of the story. He answered him and said, O faithless generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I bear with you? Bring him to me. So Jesus wanted to see the boy, and they brought him to him. And when he saw him, immediately the spirit convulsed him, and he fell on the ground and wallowed, foaming at the mouth. I've been in the presence of people who have had seizures and exhibited some of this behavior. Maybe you have too. But this was a demonic possession, and there was a much more wicked thing that was going on here. If I saw one of my children or grandchildren on the ground, foaming at the mouth, rigid, suffering terribly, I mean, that is a horrific experience. And we're going to see here that this had happened for a long time with this father and with this boy. Jesus asked the father, how long has this been happening to him? And he said, from childhood. 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years. Don't know how long, but it was a long time. This wasn't the first time he had seen his son suffer. And he said, and often he has thrown him both into the fire and into the water to destroy him. So the father knew that this was demon possession, and this demon had made efforts previously to destroy this boy, to murder him, to kill him, to end his life, because Jesus said that's what Satan does. He comes to kill and steal and destroy. And so this demon was following in his wicked master's footsteps. But then the man said something very, very wonderful. He says, but if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us. So the man came to Jesus, and he had some kind of expectancy, he had some degree of faith, if you will. And he's saying, if you can, please help. We need help. And Jesus said to him, if you can believe, All things are possible to him who believes. And the question really wasn't, Jesus would say, it's not a matter of whether I can help, but do you believe I can help? That's the crux of the matter here, and many times that's a point in our own lives of faith in following Jesus where we believe intellectually that Jesus can do anything, but here's our loved one writhing on the ground, and it's happened for years and years and years, and you just came to the disciples, and people are arguing, and there's a scene, and there's just a commotion and a ruckus, and my boy's on the ground, and this thing's been trying to kill him for many years, and I don't know what to do, so I came to you. If you can help, please help. And Jesus said, it's not a lack of ability with me. Do you believe that I can help? And Jesus is not only going to heal the boy and drive the demon out, he is drawing out faith from the Father. Jesus could have just spoken a word and the demon would have left the boy. But without the conversation with the Father, it's less likely that he would have gone home with the kind of faith that he's going to gain from this event. Jesus just doesn't want to heal the boy. He wants to develop faith in the dad. And so Jesus asks him, if you can believe, all things are possible to him who believes. Immediately the father of the child cried out and said with tears, Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief. Jesus said, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed. We often study the great people of faith in the Bible, and they have this enormous faith. But please don't discount a mustard seed of faith. This man had faith. Why? Because he came to Jesus, and in spite of everything that he was seeing and experiencing, in spite of the years of disappointment, in spite of the years of sorrow, he still comes to Jesus, and he says, I do believe, but right now I'm just not feeling it. You know what? Jesus can work with that. And so if you're having trouble with your faith right now, let me ask you this, are you still coming to Jesus? You're not feeling bold, you're not feeling courageous, you're not feeling like a superhero. You're wondering, you're doubting, but you're still coming to Jesus. Jesus can work with that. So we do believe, sometimes we struggle with our belief, but we're coming to Jesus to ask him, to give us more faith, and that's faith. Thanks for watching.